got the ministers responsible from Queensland, Northern Territory and Western Australia here for the next day and a half to talk about how we're going to advance developing Northern Australia. It's a big priority of the federal government. Already, I want to say that the North is an economic powerhouse. It's not behind, in terms of development. It contributes more than 50% of our exports, been hugely successful, great industry here in the East Kimberley. But we can, of course, do more, and there's a lot of opportunity up here in the North. So that's why we support things like the expansion of the audit scheme, and they got its start with federal and state government funding. We're also funding more than $700 million worth of roads, a couple $100 million in water infrastructure. We've got some agricultural R&D, some exciting R&D occurring at the moment into aquaculture. I'll be making some announcements on that. And we're going to have further funding on roads and those sort of things. A key topic of our discussion the next 2 days is infrastructure. We also have infrastructure ministers here from all of the jurisdictions. So we talk about what roads we need, what water assets we need to make this part of the world stronger. Well, the big focus now, as I said, we have had a focus on those school attendance, expanding job opportunities. A big focus for the government at the moment is trying to expand the business opportunities for Indigenous Australians, so not just those that want to work in a paid labour environment, but also trying to expand the skills and expertise of Indigenous businesses. So Nigel Scullion has been making sure all governments, all areas of government, try to maximise the procurement. So when we go and buy things, we look to also buy from Indigenous Australians. A few years ago, it was a bit of a disgrace. The Australian government spent just $6 million of its budget on activities that related to Indigenous businesses, so purchasing goods and services from purely Indigenous businesses. We've grown that to more than $600 million in the last 3 years, but we want to do more. And as I was mentioning, the Indigenous Reference Group that we've formed to the Northern Australian Ministerial Forum, they've got a lot of interesting suggestions about how we can take that further, about improving the skills of Indigenous businesses, making sure they're aware of what they can tender for government services, and obviously making government aware that this should be a priority for us.
There's still some limitations with regards to the criteria that the government is putting in place for Indigenous corporations and organisations to ensure that goal that we're setting with regards to getting Indigenous employment. So how realistic do you think this is?
Well, look, I think you've got to set ambitious targets. It is difficult, but I think the key thing we need to focus on is building the capacity of Indigenous businesses and communities to meet both government and industry's desire to engage more with Indigenous economic opportunity. I'm also the Resources Minister, and there's a strong commitment from many mining companies to maximise Indigenous employment. There's some, again, that do really good things, some that could do better. And when I'm rolling out infrastructure projects too across the North, one big issue we do crop up against is we want to build a road within a year or two. So we want to get out there and start laying asphalt potentially within months. And unless there's an Indigenous business around ready to go, ready to start loading the asphalt, it's hard to get them involved if they don't have the capability and capacity up front. So we probably have to look at ways where we can upskill those businesses, those new businesses. And there's a lot of people who are really keen, and I'm very strongly trying to see ways, and that's what this Indigenous Reference Group is formed, to see ways we can provide that. So when we do issue the tender, they're ready to go. We can't give Indigenous business just a free pass. They've got to be able to meet the safety, the procurement, the technical obligations to build a decent road. But if they're up to speed, up to scratch, well, I want to give them a go. So let's try and put them in that position.
Thank you.
No worries. Thanks very much.